started making pictures for myself when I was about 17, just purely because I just felt like it was the thing that I needed to do. But I guess what I started doing was I just made pictures of everything, and then I would reflect on everything. And I think then finding those like threads that link all the different images that you just sort of naturally gravitate towards is what starts the beginning of creating this cohesive portfolio that you make.
When I first started, I wanted to be a fashion designer. And that's kind of how I got into doing fashion photography. And I just found it completely fascinating. And on top of that, I love people. So I just love talking to people. I love how they interact, especially when a camera's in front of them. I love really capturing them and seeing who they are and trying to capture that within a photo. Although my work has changed from fashion to more portraiture, I still do have the same style that I think I started out with. When I finished university, I went and did lots of fashion stuff. Worked with fashion stylists to try and get my work into the industry. I moved to Australia and I actually started working for a publication that specialised mainly in food and lifestyle. And then from there, I could marry the two with my fashion work, and I suddenly started doing food. And I really developed my portfolio there. And I think from there, my portfolio is still quite similar, but I specialise mainly in portraiture now.
Developing this inner voice of yours and learning to trust this inner voice of yours is actually the key to creating more projects.
The best way for me to get an idea for a photography project has just been through travel, talking to people, friends, networking, just constantly just talking to people and hearing stories and listening to music and reading magazines and seeing what other people are doing and developing other people's ideas but making it your own. And things that I've seen going to exhibitions have inspired me to create my work into something that's my own and my own voice.
It's just better to start and not to worry so much about the intricacies of things, and you can go back and revise things. And if you just allow yourself to start, you can then, again, you can find the story that you're revolving around. Many people seem to like to make projects that are very distinct from each other. They'll take different, just like wildly different things, and that's what works for them. But for me personally, I think everything that I make revolves around a couple of key sort of topics that I'm still sort of discovering. Big auteur directors, for example, they'll just make 9 films that seem different, but they're about the same subject. And I think that's quite a nice approach to photography projects as well.
I have multiple different types of portfolios, depending on the client and the job. And I basically tailor it so that it actually looks nice for that particular job. It's just kind of like having multiple CVs. Ultimately, my work on my website shows all the stuff that I love, and the stuff that represents me and the stuff that actually I want to be booked for. But there are so many different types of work that I do outside of my website, and if people ask, I can send them a portfolio of event photography, for instance, or wedding photography. So I do lots of different types of photography, but I have lots of different types of portfolios for certain different types of jobs.
Portfolios are interesting things because you spend a long time making one and you feel really proud of it, but then they actually have to be custom to the people that you are sending them to. So it's like a never-ending cycle, quite honestly. You just really have to just go for it, actually, and review it and show it to other people and ask them what they think of it, and show it to people who are not photographers as well. Because ultimately, when you work for brands don't make adverts for you as a photographer, they make adverts for people in the street, people around you.
Top tips with getting started would be shoot. Don't be scared about what kind of equipment you have. Don't be scared about whether or not your camera is adequate enough to do a photo shoot. Just shoot. Just go for it and talk to people, take pictures of events, take pictures of family, take pictures of anything, and then you'll slowly start to develop your style.
Taking images from people, I always wanted to be collaborative. And I think that's really important when you're making imagery.
Starting out on a collaboration project, I think it's super exciting, super important. Being active in your community will help you find the right people to collaborate with. You could post on forums, whether someone could recommend a movement coach or a nail artist or whatever it is. I rely really heavily on my different communities when I'm looking for collaborators on new jobs, whether that be commercial or partnering people on personal work as well.
When I think about all the things that I'm most proud of that I've ever made, it's always come through working with others. And I really actually cannot underestimate the importance of that sort of team aspect.
I think at every stage of your job, you should always aspire to work with people because you creatively align with them. So whether they are 30 years into their career or just starting out shouldn't impact whether you reach out to them or not, because it's in people's best interest to collaborate with all different kinds of people at every stage of their career so that they're in tune with what the industry looks like, feels like and sounds like at every different stage.
Not only is it literally physically helpful, like you got to shoot, like what you want to put the lights up, you want to like carry all the stuff, you want to like forget your lenses, like no, it's useful to have people on set. And I think when we think of the word collaborator, we often think of intellectual partner or creative partner, but actually like your AC is a collaborator with you. Your gaffer is a really important collaborator. If you haven't got any money for a shoot, hire a gaffer still. That's the best thing you can do. Also, knowing when to end a collaboration is really good, because sometimes you just have worn each other out, or you've worn out your ideas, or you've worn out the project that you want to do together, and you don't want it to keep going on and on and on.
When starting out in your photography career, it's so important to keep on learning. When I started, I was literally just doing workshops after workshops. And through those, I was able to like discover my style. I was able to discover what I even like to shoot. When I started, yes, I was shooting everything, but then I was really able to kind of like narrow it down and see like, what is it that I love?
I actually used to love chemistry, and I just sacked chemistry off for photography, but to me they're kind of natural partners, aren't they? You know, they blend with each other. There's a certain amount of analytical thinking. They both originally used to rely on chemical processes. So I think the sort of natural love of those things really led me into it, and I just stopped making paracetamol and things like that and started making images. But yeah, it just really bonded me to the darkroom, actually. I'm old enough to have learned in a darkroom. And that, for me, is the most wonderful way of learning, because it really forces the errors into your practice. I think when you learn with digital, it's great because you can explore unlimited, but I think this idea of getting really comfortable with making mistakes is something that sometimes just has to be forced, and I think that's really valuable when you start. Most of it's come through finding space to experiment and actually just try things and breaking things. I've broken lots of things. Sometimes that's okay, you know, sometimes it works better for you in a way that is not detrimental. We used to put our lenses in an oven and melt them so that it would become more soft and dreamy, and I think through this experimentation is something that you can really push yourself to find out and learn more about what works for you.
You never ever stop learning. That's why it's so important to have conversations, especially with people within the field.
Personally, I feel that skills are often divided between these sort of more practical and personal skills. And if it's practical skills that you want to learn, then formalized education may not necessarily be the right way to do that. I think working with people, emailing other photographers, if you want to learn more practical skills, is probably the best way. When it comes to learning camera skills, there's truly not that much to learn at the base of it all. All the cameras work the same, they're just the buttons are in different places, lenses will do the same things. It's more important to learn, I think, the personal skill behind that, which is, what do you prefer?
It's always great to like find your community. So even if it's just like one or two people you know who's a photographer, you guys can actually come together and help each other and support each other, because you know, you're gonna learn through experiences. So you've got the things like the UK Black Female Photographers community, where it's Black female photographers supporting each other, always sharing their work. You have places like the Photography Foundation. You have all of these places that are literally at your doorstep, but it's for you to actually go out there and see what it is that's out there. My top tips for learning is join communities so you can share your work in there and get critique. Connect with people even if it's 1 or 2 people, and go out and shoot.